Welcome to the DMF Podcast, where you will get to hear conversations with community leaders, charity spotlights, and information on upcoming DMF events. I'm your host, Whitney Isaacson, and today I got to sit down with Jana Bruhschwein, the Executive Director and founder of Peace Academy. I also got to sit down with Kelly Knodel. She's the Assistant Director and a teacher at Peace Academy. Between the two of them, they have 45 years of experience in early childhood education. And they are also advanced trainers in the Nurtured Heart approach. So today, they're going to sit down and talk all about the Nurtured Heart approach and why it's so important to early childhood education. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation today, so let's get into it. All right, welcome, Jana and Kelly. We're so excited to have you guys on the podcast today. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. So I always like to ask a little icebreaker question first, and kind of as early childcare professionals, what are you guys most passionate about in your role?
For me, I am most passionate about helping people understand that this period from birth through age 5 is so critical to who kids grow up to be, and that we have to seize that opportunity by putting really great people and great experiences in front of kids so that we can really maximize that time.
Totally. And Jana, as the founder of Peace Academy, you were the one that had this seed to plant Peace Academy. So I'm sure that passion was already there from the get-go.
It has lived in our hearts and in our daily living and conversations for years, and really to create a space that was made on decisions about what's best for kids. And we know that surrounding kids with highly trained people, including their parents, and all of the opportunities to grow in their role as parents and really strengthen our community was so important to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Kelly, what about you? What are you most passionate about?
For me as a preschool teacher, I love seeing the transformation in kids from when they're 3 until they go off to kindergarten. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is the Nurtured Heart approach, and seeing that transformation in kids, from kids who can't sit still or stand in line or keep their hands to themselves or don't know that they have this greatness inside of them. And then another thing that we do at Peace Academy is enrich parents. And so being able to teach classes on the Nurtured Heart approach, and then offer other classes and parenting things for parents, and offer resources to be able to see the transformation as in the family as a whole, not just in the kids, but in the parents, and being able to walk alongside them is one of the things I just love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you touched already a little bit on the Nurtured Heart approach, and that's something I'd love to talk with you guys about and dive into, because you're both, correct me, advanced teachers in the Nurtured Heart approach.
Yes,
correct?
We're both advanced trainers, and we hold classes not only for parents in our community, but for other childcare centers, school districts. Kelly and I will be going to Langdon later this year to share this approach. Mm-hmm. We just think it's transformative in the way, not only in your personal life, but in how you can use it with all your relationships.
Right. So for someone who doesn't know about the Nurtured Heart approach, what is it?
I would say it's really a way of being. I remember when I first started it, probably 10 or plus years ago, I thought I was taking the class for my kids. And then I realized, no, this is about me. This is about how I'm showing up. So one of the big things is not responding in a big way to negativity. So being able to reset myself, control myself, set a good example for kids, start to look for what's right in myself and others instead of what's wrong, and then knowing how to set those clear boundaries. So when I first started working with Jana, I was like 23, didn't think I was going to be in education forever. And I think the Nurtured Heart approach is a huge reason why I'm still in early childhood.
So often in our lives, when something bad happens, we spend all of our time mentally and emotionally just focusing on it. And even as a parent, I found myself, when my kids did something that I didn't like, or I didn't want them to continue doing, we'd show up with these big lectures, or maybe you might be someone who yells or really gets in kids' faces. And we were giving so much energy to those moments. And when things were going well, we're like, I better not move because I don't want to interrupt this moment of greatness. And now we know what we give our energy to, both our eyeballs, our words can ensure that we get more of that. And it has been a way that we have instilled that concept of really looking what's going well in our entire center. And we hear so often when people come through the door, it just feels so peaceful or calm. What's the difference? And the difference is the nurtured heart approach. 100% of our staff are trained in it before they get the luxury of being with other people's children. They need to know how to speak to them in this respectful, loving, nurturing way.
One of the examples that I love is like thinking of our energy as money. So it's like my energetic currency. I get to choose, am I going to show up with $100 bills for the problems? Or am I going to get to show up even if it's the tiniest success? I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait for perfection. I don't have to wait all day. And so as a staff, I think it's really great to be able to collaborate together and go into a classroom and say, look at all these things going well. Or on a hard day, I can go to Jana or other coworkers and say, I'm really struggling. Can you help me see the good? Can you help me problem solve? Can you help me brainstorm? And with parents too that come and take the class, or even people that haven't, but they know that there's a better way and they want to learn.
And I think it's really transformed how parents see their kids. As parents, we always feel that our kids are a representation of how well we have parented. And so sometimes that can be a little panic inducing, that you're trying to control your kids' behavior. When we really think about it, we have kids who are 3, 4, and 5. They've been on this planet for 3 or 4 years, and only a couple of them talking. This is the period of growth and development that we need to be giving so much loving energy to, and helping parents see your child is not someone to control or that you have to get it right, but you have to always be considering what is the relationship that I'm building with them and providing a safe space. Some of our families say, I used to go to pick up my child and I'd be met with a laundry list of what went wrong. Oh, they didn't use their listening ears today. They didn't clean up this morning at cleanup time. Really giving a lot of airtime to what didn't go well and right in earshot of kids. So demoralizing. No child behaves better when they feel worse about themselves. So how can we say, oh my goodness, this morning you didn't clean up, and when I asked, you quickly reset, you got back to it, and you were a great classmate and helped a friend. You know, we can choose to give energy to the things that are going well.
Right.
One of the stories I heard recently, it's really fun when parents come in and share something that they've heard their kids say at home in regards to this. And so I had a student who has a lot of anxiety in new situations and just a little more hesitant to things and really doesn't like haircuts. And he was getting his haircut and he said, Mom, I can do this because Peace Academy taught me that I'm brave.
Aww.
They internalize that and they carry that and share that with their families.
So when we can give kids examples of you are being so brave, they carry that with them. We call that inner wealth. If we can grow bravery and patience and self-control, all of those qualities live within them, and they start to recognize it in themselves and in others. In our classrooms, we have a job called Greatness Patrol. And it is so amazing to see 3 and 4-year-olds stand in front of the room and say, I saw cooperation. Those kids worked together to clean up the block center. Or I saw generosity when someone shared the magnetiles. To see kids use that vocabulary around not only describing themselves, but their friends, their parents, that's really how we get parents to come in. They say, something has changed about the way my child is speaking to themselves and to others, and I need to know what it is. And that's how it really began, that we wanted to share this approach with parents.
Wow. Very powerful. So that's a lot of great examples of the outcome of the Nurtured Heart approach. So for someone getting trained in it, what are the different avenues that you have to learn?
So when we teach a class, we teach it in 3 parts. It's kind of like a tripod where you need all 3 parts in balance. So when parents come to a class, we usually spend the first session on not energizing negativity. So what does that look like? What can I do internally so that I don't yell, I don't shame and blame or spank or do the things that I might typically do? So that first one's a lot about our own internal energy. The second week, we really teach those greatness words and what are those ways and how do you learn that new language? Because it doesn't come naturally to a lot of us. It's not the way we grew up and it's not what just comes naturally out of our mouth. So we really focus on what's going well, what's going right, and how do we instill that inner wealth. And then week 3, we talk a lot about being clear. How can we have clarity? Even imagine in the workplace, if it wasn't clear on when you were supposed to get to work, but then you got in trouble for getting here late, it wasn't clear ahead of time. So being clear with kids and our expectations and rules and boundaries, and then how do we get back on track quickly? We know mistakes are going to happen. We know we're going to mess up. What does that look like so that we can all get back into that success and working on what's good?
Mm-hmm. And so many parents come with one child in mind, a really intense child, and they think, oh, good, I'm going to get the answers. They're going to tell me what to say and when to do it. It's really not that kind of an approach. It's so much internal work of realizing I have to be the example of how to reset myself from big feelings. We can't have big explosions over small things and expect our kids not to do the same. They are learning and watching, and that is so important. And also a big takeaway for families is we are a society that is good job, way to go, thumbs up, which really doesn't give enough evidence. When I say, hey, good job, Whitney, you have no idea what the good job is. But when I say, Whitney, you invited us to be on this podcast, you messaged us and gave us clear direction. You came here today with notes that tell me that you've researched who we are, what we do, and a real intensity of wanting to know more. Does that feel different than good job, Whitney?
Yeah, it makes me feel very good.
And it's really a way to connect with people, and it's a parenting approach, but it's really a way we joke. It's a way to people. Everyone is going to people from here until they take their last breath. So how can we do that in a way that really honors the people that we're with, including kids?
Right.
A big part of our mission is strengthening community, and our ambassador program invites adults with developmental disabilities. So we have 10 ambassadors that volunteer in our classroom. So they play with kids and set out snack and, sing songs and do all those kinds of things. And I don't know that all of them would, or their families would say that they necessarily love preschoolers before they started, but they all love coming. And I think the relationship that we've built with a lot of them are nonverbal, with these nonverbal adults, is nurtured heart.
It is when you stop looking for what makes us different and really view, what do I see about the person in front of me? Even being nonverbal, you can show up with, they say things like, you're creative, you color with us. You are kind, you are inclusive, you'll sit by anyone at the snack table.
Yeah, we do a greatness poster for everybody's birthday, kids or ambassadors, and the kids just rattle off these greatnesses about the ambassadors. And
yeah, I love one of our ambassadors. They said, you are a leader.
One of them led a parade, so he was a leader, and another one leads music when she comes, and kids see that and they love that.
Wow. So cool. So many fun, different things going on at Peace Academy. So with the Nurtured Heart approach and everything that's going on in your guys' 4 walls, like in your whole building, teaching parents to enrich them when the kids go home as well, what are the outcomes of the Nurtured Heart approach later in life for these kids?
Anytime you plant a seed, I'll tell a story of my own son, John. At one time, I was the head of a Lego after school program. Oof, tough. And John said on the way home, Mom, I have to tell you something. I found a gold minifigure in the Legos and I really love it. And I put it in my pocket. And I was going to take it home with me. But then I remembered how many times you've told me that I'm honest. And so I put it back. I hope you're not mad at me. I had the opportunity to say, of course, I'm not mad at you. Thank you again for being honest. When we plant the seed of being honest at a young age, when forced with the decisions of who am I going to be and how am I going to show up in this moment, it matters that the grown-ups in their lives have said, I see you being honest. Not all the time, but they know what's within them and they look for signs to reinforce that. So to us, some people will say, are we really going to have to walk around telling kids all these flowery things? Well, when I tell my son, you are so responsible, you set your own alarm, you get up for school every day and I don't have to wake you up. That leads to him acting in a more responsible way in other circumstances. So the transformation, the impact is huge, and they continue to spread it to others when they see what's right and plant those seeds of inner wealth in others.
I think it's like the analogy is like a big rock in the ocean and there's all these waves crashing around it. And if these kids know on the inside who they are and they're strong on the inside, then when life throws them those big waves, they're strong enough and they don't crumble. Versus if I don't have inner wealth, what happens during those times, or what happens? And the world isn't going to be there walking alongside them, sharing their greatness every step of the way, but they have that foundation inside of them.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Kind of touches on the piece of resilience, of growing up to be resilient kids and adults. So thinking about that with the Nurtured Heart approach is, what are the things that you guys do to help model that resilience day to day? Like when there's the big emotions, there's the big responses. Does it come from you guys modeling the behavior, reinforcing with words? What does that look like?
I think one of the biggest differences since the Nurtured Heart approach is there's no carrying what a child did 2 minutes ago into the next moment. It's always a clean slate that once you've reset yourself, there's no shame, blame, yelling, giving the stink eye. As soon as you've collected yourself, you're reset and ready to get back to doing what is well, and you're back in your element and you're right with us. There's no one holding that over your head. And that is so important about always knowing that you get to show up as the best version of yourself in the next moment.
I think in those moments of the big, huge emotions, we may, give a child some space, some time, and then recognize them when it's over. But thinking of like my 10-year-old had a lot of anxiety this year. And one of the things that really worked for me was being supportive, but not enabling. And then saying things like, I trust that you're going to make it through the day. And then after the fact, after school or football or whatever it was, that was the chance to say, look at how you can do hard things. Look at how you can get through this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in turn, it's building that resilience by planting those seeds and reinforcing it.
And also modeling, resetting ourselves, because when kids have big feelings, that can create big feelings in the grown-ups that are around them. And we need to provide the calm and the space. We'll often say, we have to first reset ourselves. So sometimes the tantrum just happens. And I can make sure they're in a safe space. I can make sure that someone's near them and available, but also be resetting myself so that I can show up in the moment when things settle to be a great space for them and to talk through. We use those opportunities for lots of talking points when things are going well. In the moment of a child tantruming, there's not a thing a grown-up can say that is going to lead to change. Save it for a time when things are calm and be able to talk about. Sometimes I get really mad when I lose playing games. I take some deep breaths. I get up, I move and walk around. What works for you? And helping kids grow their vocabulary and also the options that they know that they can go to, and an understanding that what works for me doesn't work for you. It's a very individual thing.
And sometimes those tantrums are just a minute and we reset and we move on. And sometimes the transformation takes months. Those really intense kids or those anxiety things that are long lasting or whatever it might be. And so I think the Nurtured Heart approach can help with both.
Mm-hmm.
And at Peace Academy, we also like to look into, sometimes it's not just a behavior. Sometimes it's tired, hungry, constipated, What are the things? We're big believers in sleeping, pooping, and eating make a large impact on how we show up.
Totally. It's true. So kind of thinking about all of that with the Nurtured Heart approach, what are some of the practical things that you guys tell and examples you give to parents who are really struggling with the big emotions and trying to implement the Nurtured Heart approach, but they're just really struggling?
That is one of the benefits of having a community that speaks the same language or knows the same approach. We encourage parents to come in and say, wow, I'm really struggling with bedtime. Will you talk this through? And we will do a problem solving. This isn't an approach where you're going to always have to come to us to learn. We'll talk you through, where may you be leaking energy and giving a lot of big reactions? And how can we eliminate that? Where are there some successes happening that you maybe aren't acknowledging? And are there some new rules or clarity that you need to provide? And I can't think of a time that we've done that with parents that they haven't went, oh, and they're coming up with their own answers and have something to implement at home to make even the slightest shift and change. And it can just keep moving in that circle of problem solving.
One of the easiest, quickest changes, I think, is we often hear parents asking their kids, can you go get your backpack? Do you want to leave now? And then the child throws a fit because no, they don't want to. Well, the parent just asked them. Or I remember I used to use that language, and I would ask my daughter, like, do you want to brush teeth? Do you want to get your pajamas on? And then, of course, why would they not say no or throw a fit or keep doing whatever they were doing? And so one of the easiest shifts is just to change the language to, it's time. It's time to get your backpack. And then the child says, no, I can tell you don't want to. You're having so much fun. I know it's hard to leave. It's time to go. And just that shift in our language eliminates the option. We're not advertising anymore that there's a choice. And it doesn't solve every problem, but it can wipe out so much of that battle back and forth with our kids, whether it's at supper time, bedtime, getting out the door in the morning, leaving school or the park.
Yeah. So the language piece is huge with the Nurtured Heart approach. Yes. I love it. So what are some just high level advice you would give to parents with the Nurtured Heart approach? If you could sum up the Nurtured Heart approach, just high level, how would you explain it to someone, and what advice would you give? It's a big question. Like everything we talked about, how would you encompass that into a high level,
I would invite them to come and take a class. People will hear about it, or they'll say things like, oh, you guys just say nice things to kids. It's so much more than that. And I would tell them, if the way you're parenting isn't aligning with your heart and how you're feeling, I think you're really going to find a connection to this feeling like a very intuitive way once you have the tools to come and do it. And I always say, if you come and you hate it, you don't have to do it, but come and find out. And it was a dad recently who came to a class and he said, do you know how many hours I've sat on Zoom meetings and continuing ed for my job, for hobbies, for things? This is the first class I've ever taken to invest in something that is life-giving for a lifetime. And so really putting that into perspective, because parents will say, I don't know if I have 2 hours on 3 weeks in a row. It's definitely worth the investment.
And I think just don't give up with it, because looking back to my first class to where I am now, I'm a completely different parent and teacher, but it wasn't just one time. You don't go to the gym once. You don't go out for a run once. You don't go to church once. It's really an investment, but it is so worth it.
And that the dividends will be paid not only in your home, but in your marriage, in your relationships with family, and so many say in their work setting.
Yeah. Great. Super awesome, guys. So can you remind me, what were the 3 avenues to the Nurtured Heart approach? You said you could take the class in 3 weeks and get trained in it, right?
Yes. So it's definitely something where if you're going to sign up for a class, you need to come to all 3 weeks. Some classes you go to and you learn all of it the first time and then you re-talk about it the second time. It really builds kind of like a house. You build the foundation, then the next floor, and then the next floor. So we call it the 3 stands, like the tripod, and it's not energizing negativity. Absolutely no. Absolutely yes. Focusing on successes and what's going right and creating success. And stand 3, absolutely clear. So rules and clarity and boundaries.
Okay, awesome.
And we offer them at a variety of times. Typically, they're from 6:30 to 8:30. Like on a Tuesday night, we've dabbled in 4 to 6, and we offered childcare for people's children. So we've also held some all-day Saturday. So we try to make it accessible to all families.
Okay. So then for anyone listening that's interested in getting more of these resources, is there anything you guys tend to point your parents to learn more, or when would be the next class to come and check out some of this from you guys? What does that look like?
We'll probably be doing our next one in October. We usually do a fall one, a winter, and 1 or 2 spring classes. We have lots of resources, just books and things at Peace Academy. It's a little hard to find all of it online. It's kind of helpful to know someone, but we're usually there at Peace Academy. But our website, pafargo.com, does list our classes.
Okay, great. So my last question for you guys would be, what do you hope for the kids of the future? Like, you guys are doing so much work to pour into the next generation. So what hope do you have for these kids with their future, or just in the future in general? What's your hope for the next generation?
I think my hope is the same for children and all people, is that you realize you were given gifts and they are yours to use to better themselves, their community, and playing small does not use those gifts. So don't be afraid to stand up and shine and use your gifts.
Yeah. Your intensity is your gift. Are you going to use it? And to know your intensity and not be afraid of it.
And to not label it. That's the thing that you may feel is too much within you is the very thing the world needs the most. So find your way to channel it in the best of ways.
Wow. So much hope going on at Peace Academy, and I just love hearing it all. And Kelly and Jana, thank you so much for just sitting down on the podcast and talking about the Nurtured Heart approach with me. I can't wait to learn some more from you guys. So we'll have to pick your guys' brains some more.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you guys. What a great conversation today with Jana and Kelly, learning all about the Nurtured Heart approach. I love the 3 areas that we were talking about building really good connected relationships among the kids, emphasizing positive behaviors among the adults and the kids, but also learning how to turn difficult emotions into more of an abundant inner wealth. So many great avenues to the Nurtured Heart approach. But all right, folks, that is going to be it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time on the DMF Podcast.